I'm glad that you brought up that word passing again. That's one of my least favorite words in the whole transition nomenclature is, passing implies failing, and I don't think anybody can fail as a person. If you go out there to just be who you are and give yourself the freedom to be yourself, that is what really matters. And if you are truly being yourself.
Yeah, but it's so hard. If you're really yourself and say that you're a woman that just likes to be a masculine woman, not necessarily pass as a man, and people harass you for that. I mean, girls are harassed for being tomboys. Sometimes that gives people a certain complex. They don't have the inner strength. I mean, we live in a society, it's very hard to be totally self-reliant.
Absolutely. It really is difficult, and that's where that transition comes in. And over time, you need to really dig deep and find out really who you are.
But I will say, I understand your objection to the term passing, but I have been struck by how totally invisible most trans men are. I've never seen a trans man that I had any earthly idea was ever a woman.
Except that maybe they're 4'5" and
yeah, they're short and maybe a little fat and they wear baggy clothes. But most men are fat and wear baggy clothes, like the comedian mentioned. Being over seeing his pot belly hanging out in the TV screen, he realized how much a real man he'd really become. But with trans women, it's much more different because there are unfortunately trans women who were 6'4" or football-built type athletes, broad shoulders, tall, Adam's apple secondary sex characteristics that bother them. Facial hair, and it's much harder to successfully be accepted as a member of a different gender if you're born and biologically male. It's much harder to pass as a biological female. Pass, and maybe I don't want to offend you use that term.
That's fine. I actually see where you're going with this, and I think that's something that each of us going through our individual transitions have to really look at closely to truly understand who we are as people. And
to make peace. If we're really tall, maybe we just want to try to pass as a masculine woman instead of being a beauty queen.
Right, exactly. And you need to understand your limitations. I mean, when I started, I thought
You're transsexual.
I am.
I want to confess to you. I know a lot of trans people and all that. I was sitting here and looking at this woman and saying to myself, how did this straight woman ever get? She looks like a woman. She looks like a straight woman. How did she ever get involved with the trans community? I mean, I'm telling you that because I know that you like to hear that. But the fact of the matter is, no one in a million years would, and I don't think you would ever be.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, that does mean a lot. But really, I started off, and I remember the first time that I stepped out of my front door as Jessica, and I remember I was scared. I mean, looking through that.
That's the way I felt when I went out wearing this pirate jacket from Halloween, dressed up with a glitter bow tie, and feeling like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm some kind of freak.
It was the first time that I'd shaved off my beard which actually feels very strange to say that now, but it was the first time that I had shaved off my beard in many, many years, and my trip was, I think I spent maybe 3.5 hours just getting ready to go and fill up my car with gas. That was the expedition. And
oh wow! Not even out of the car.
Oh, well, yeah. I had to get in Virginia. It's self-serve, so.
Oh.
And you know what? I met some kids that were standing outside a nearby McDonald's, and they were, one of the guys was catcalling me, and which was really, really nice. Of course, they were only seeing me from behind.
Catcalling you, thinking you're a hot babe they're trying to pick up or something, right? That kind of cat. But that's a compliment, given your circumstances.
And that was right. And then there was another, one of his friends was saying, no, there's something wrong. There's something wrong here.
Oh, really?
I'm not quite sure what, but...
You overheard them saying this?
I could hear... They didn't think that I could actually hear. The wind was blowing in my direction. I could hear everything that they were saying. And ultimately, I then turned around, and then one of the guys said, oh my gosh, and just started laughing at the other guy. It's like... Oh, look what you're...
So after you get a pat on the back, you get a knife in the heart, right? I mean...
Right, but what happened next touched me in such a way that's when I had to... I felt that I just had to speak out. And this was probably one of the defining moments in my transition, was that very first night out. 2 girls that were in that group, they then walked over to me and said, and actually asked me about, so, why are you dressed like this, but with genuine interest.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's that people are interested, like women would be interested in you, and they're not threatened by the fact that you're a male biologically. They're just curious. Like, here's somebody who wants to be female, and why do you? They're questioning about why. See, it's interesting. I find that there's actually a certain understanding among trans women, especially among straight men, because my own perception is that men can somehow, straight men, not gay men, are very transphobic, but straight men can understand why someone would want to be a beautiful woman because they're attracted to beautiful women. I think gay men are much more threatened by trans women. I might be wrong about that. That's my own impression.
I think there certainly are stereotypical reactions to trans people.
I don't want to get off on this. I want to get back to your story about the girls. The girls come over and ask you?
Right, so the girls came over and asked me about it, and, they were, sorry, you can see me. It was such an emotional moment.
Do you remember what they said? Any particular questions stand out?
They basically asked me, so.
They said, sir?
No, they said, so why did you come? Why are you dressed this way? And I said, well, because. And then I mentioned, well, this is actually the very first time that I'm doing this, and they said, really? It's like, wow, that's incredible, and that moment was just wonderful. And then
they were saying really encouraging because they thought you did it very well, obviously.
Right. And to me, I thought I looked horrible at the time, and so that just gave me a little bit of confidence.
How do you think you look looking back?
When I look back now, I actually think I look worse than than I thought I looked at the time.
Well, you're absolutely beautiful today, I must say. How would people get involved? What would you tell people? Where would you tell them to go on the internet or Facebook or anywhere to start? I've been a member of Trans Queer Nation, which I found to be a very nice place for people to network. And also on YouTube, I'm amazed now. There are young trans men that are like 15 years old in high school, and they can't go to the girls' room or the boys' room. They go to the bathroom in the nurse's bathroom because people know that they're trans at a very young age, and their parents are supportive. It's amazing how the world is changing. Where would you tell people to go to get information about trans issues or to help themselves along the pathway of understanding what they're going to be going up against?
Well, I think, one of the things that wasn't around when I was growing up was the web, and there's a lot of good information out there. There's also a lot of bad information out there that it almost might scare someone away.
And what would you tell them to avoid?
You know what, I think, as with anything on the internet, I think, read both sides. Read the bad stuff, but read the good stuff, and then decide for yourself.
You're talking about print material that's bad. They're like transophobes out there saying these.
I think they're just I think it's changing now a little, but I think there's so many negative stories out there of
murder. You're talking about now about murder and victimization.
Victims of violence because of their gender identity, because of their gender expression, and these things are very real.
This is Marsha P. Johnson. She was a house mother in my extended gay family, and she was probably murdered in 1992 because she was trans. That's one reason that I'm very passionate about this subject. So we all have had horrible things touch our life, but she also was the most wonderful person I ever knew in my life.